And with, and with this, Prabhupada actually was showing to his disciple that he was literally not attached to anything. Even though he was going to the new place, they were so anxious, but he was just in his mind concentrating of spreading Krishna consciousness. If facilities were not there, also he was not anxious at all.
Absolutely. Hare Krishna. In fact, he said so beautifully, he had come all the way, leaving Vrindavan and everything in India just to spread Krishna consciousness. It is not for New York or not for these set of people here, for the hippies. It is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, right? So that was his mission. And for that purpose only he traveled. So he said, like, I will not tire until he never gave so much of importance weightage, even when the devotees were like so worried. He said they will be able to manage. He said this is a short stint. He gave responsibilities to everybody there. The printing press was going on in full swing, so he gave a lot of responsibilities to High Griva and everybody, all the other devotees. And Srila Prabhupada started his next step boldly by surrendering to Krishna. So that's where we concluded yesterday. So lovely. So we will begin our class today. Whoever would like to read, please raise your hands. Meanwhile, I'll share my screen. One second. Wait, this PDF is not showing. 1 second. Let me close all of this. Alright, I'll share again once. It is not showing. Let me share the entire screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Very nice. So, Lakshmi Mataji, you had raised hand, no? You can start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Good,
Chapter 3. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Only he could lead them. San Francisco, January 16, 1967. When the announcement for United Airlines Flight 21 from New York came over the public address system, the group of about 50 hippies gathered close together in anticipation. For a moment, they appeared almost apprehensive, unsure of what to expect or what the Swami would be like. Roger Segal, we were quite an assorted lot, even for the San Francisco airport. Mukunda was wearing a Merlin, the magician robe with paisley squares all around. Sam was wearing a Moroccan sheep robe with a hood. He even smelled like a sheep. And I was wearing a sort of blue homemade Japanese samurai robe with small white dots. Long strings of beads were everywhere. Buckskins, boots, army fatigues, people wearing small round sunglasses, the whole phantasmagoria of San Francisco at its height. Only a few people in the crowd knew Swamiji. Mugunta and his wife Janaki, Ravindra Swarupa, Raya Rama, all from New York, and Allen Ginsberg was there. A few days before, Allen had been one of the leaders of the Human Bee in Golden Gate Park, where over 200,000 had come together, a gathering of the tribes, for a joyful powwow and peace dance. Swamiji would be pleased, Mukunda reminded everyone. if they were all chanting Hare Krishna when he came through the gate. They were already familiar with the Hare Krishna mantra. They had heard about the Swamis chanting in the park in New York, or they had seen the articles about Swamiji and the chanting in the local underground paper, The Oracle. Earlier today, they had gathered in Golden Gate Park, most of them responding to a flyer Mugunda had distributed, and had chanted there for more than an hour before coming to the airport in a caravan of cars. Now, many of them, also in response to Mugunda's flyer, stood with incense and flowers in their hands. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi Mataji, Danvat Pranam, Hare Krishna. Muthumanikam Prabhuji, I see your hand raised. You can continue next.
Yes, Mataji, screen not visible.
Uh, is it visible now, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
As the disembarking passengers entered the terminal gate and walked up the ramp, they looked in amazement at the reception of flower-bearing chanters. The chanters, however, gazed past these ordinary, tired-looking travelers, searching for that special person who was supposed to be on the plane. Suddenly, walking toward them was Swamiji, golden complexioned, dressed is in bright saffron robes. He had heard the chanting even before he had entered the terminal, and he had begun to smile. He was happy and surprised. Glancing glancing over the faces, he recognized only a few. Yet yet here were 50 people receiving him and chanting Hare Krishna without his having said a word. The crowd of hippies had formed a line on either side of the narrow passage through which Swamiji would walk. As he passed among his new admirers, dozens of hands stretched out to offer him flowers and incense. He smiled, collecting the offerings in his hands while Ranakora looked on. Alan Ginsberg stepped forward with a large bouquet of flowers, and Bhaktivedanta Swami graciously accepted it. Then he began offering the gifts back to all who reached out to receive them. He proceeded through the terminal. The crowd of young people walked beside him, chanting. As the package climbed, he waited for a moment, his eyes taking in everyone around him. Lifting his open palms, he beckoned everyone to chant louder, and the group burst into renewed chanting. With the Swami standing in their midst, softly clapping his hands and singing Hare Krishna. Gracefully, he then raised his arms above his head and began to dance, stepping and swaying from side to side. To the mixed chagrin, amusement, and irresistible joy of the airport workers and passengers, the reception party stayed with the Swami until he got his luggage. Then they escorted him outside into the sunlight and into waiting a car, a black 1949 Cadillac Fleetwood. Swamiji got into the back seat with Mukunda and Alan Ginsberg until the moment the car pulled away from the curb. Swamiji, still smiling, continued handling flowers to all those who had come to welcome him as he brought Krishna consciousness west. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Babuji, very nice. Danvat
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Hare Krishna, everyone. I think my network went for a second. Just a minute. Trying to reconnect.
Mataji, may I share the screen, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji. No, Mataji, I'm back. Sorry, Mataji. So sorry for the inconvenience caused.
It's okay, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Sharmila Mataji, you can start, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Cadillac belonged to Harvey Cohen, who almost a year before had allowed the Swami to stay in his Bowery loft. Harvey was driving, but because of his chauffeur's hat picked up at Salvation Army store and his black suit and his beard, Swamiji didn't recognize him. Where is Harvey? He's driving, Mukunda said. Oh, is that you? I didn't recognize you. Harvey smiled. Welcome to San Francisco, Swamiji. Bhaktivedanta Swami was happy to be in another big Western city on behalf of his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Lord Chaitanya. The further west one goes, Lord Chaitanya had said, the more materialistic the people. Yet, Lord Chaitanya had also said that Krishna consciousness should spread all over the world. Swamiji's godbrothers had often wondered about Lord Chaitanya's statement that one day the name of Krishna would be sung in every town and village. Perhaps that verse should be taken symbolically, they said. Otherwise, what could it mean? Krishna in every town? But Bhaktivedanta Swami had deep faith in that statement by Lord Chaitanya and in the instruction of his spiritual master. Here, he was in the far western city of San Francisco, and already people were chanting. They had enthusiastically received him with flowers and kirtana. And all over the world, there were other cities much like this one. The temple Mukunda and his friends had obtained was on Frederick Street in the Haight-Ashbury district. Like the temple at 26th 2nd Avenue in New York, it was a small storefront with a display window facing the street. A sign over the window read, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Temple. Mukunda and his friends had also rented a three-room apartment for Swamiji on the third floor of the adjoining building. It was a small, bare, rundown apartment facing the street. Followed by several carloads of devotees and curious seekers, Swamiji arrived at 518 Frederick Street and entered the storefront, which was decorated only by a few Madras cloths on the wall. Taking his seat on a cushion, he led a kirtana and then spoke, inviting everyone to take up Krishna consciousness. After his lecture, he left the storefront and walked next door and up the two flights of stairs to his apartment. As he entered the apartment number 32, he was followed not only by his devotees and admirers, but also by reporters from San Francisco's main newspapers, the Chronicle and the Examiner. While some devotees cooked his lunch and Ranachora unpacked his suitcase, Swamiji talked with the reporters who sat on the floor taking notes on their pads. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So nice. Hari Bol. Ekambar Prabhuji, you can continue, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji. Reporter, downstairs you said you were inviting everyone to Krishna consciousness. Does that include the hate, Ashbury, Bahmanians, and beat mix Swami? Yes, everyone, including you or anybody else. But he or she, what is called acid head and acid head or hippie or something else. But once he is accepted for training, he becomes something else from what he had been before. Reporter, what does one need to do to become a member of your movement? Swamiji, there are four prerequisites. I do not allow my students to keep girlfriends. I prohibit all kinds of intoxicants, including coffee, tea, and cigarette. I prohibit meat eating, and I prohibit my students from taking part in gambling. Reporting. Do these shall not commandments extend to the use of LSD, marijuana, and other narcotics? Swamiji, I consider LSD to be an intoxicant. I do not allow anyone of my students to use that or any intoxicant. I train my students to rise early in the morning, to take a bath early in the day, and to attend the prayer meetings 3 times a day. Our sect is one of austerity. It is the science of God. Although Bhakti Vedanta Swami had found the reporters generally did not report this philosophy, he took the opportunity to preach Krishna consciousness. Even as the reporters didn't want to delve into the philosophy, his followers did. The big mistake of modern civilization, Swamiji continued, is to encroach upon others' property as though it were one's own. This creates an unnatural disturbance. God is the ultimate proprietor of everything in the universe. When people know that God is the ultimate proprietor, the best friend of all living entities, and the object of all offerings and sacrifices, then there will be peace. After the reporters left, Swami continued speaking to the young people in his room. Mukunda, who had allowed his hair and beard to grow, who wore around his neck the strand of large red beads Swamiji had given at initiation, introduced some of these friends and explained that they were all living together and they wanted to help Swamiji present Krishna consciousness to the young people of San Francisco. Mukunda's wife Janaki asked Swamiji about his plans to right. He said it had been present except for some passengers in his ears. The houses looked like matchboxes, he said, and with his thumb and forefinger indicated the size of a matchbox. He leaned back against the wall and took off the garlands he had received that day, until only a beaded necklace, a common, inexpensive item with a small bell on it, remained hanging around. This is special, legend, looking up, because it was made with devotion. He continued to pay attention to the necklace as if receiving it had been one of the most important events of the day. When Swamiji's lunch arrived, he distributed some to everyone and then ran Chora efficiently through tactfully asked everyone to leave and give the Swami a little time to eat and rest. Outside the apartment and in the storefront below, the talk was of Swamiji. No one had been disappointed. Everything Mukunda had been telling them about him was true. They particularly enjoyed how he had talked about seeing everything from Krishna's viewpoint. That night on television, Swamiji's arrival was covered on the 11 o'clock news, and the next day it appeared in the newspaper. The Examiner story was on page 2. Swamiji invites the hippies along with a photo of the temple, filled with followers, and some shots of Swamiji who looked very grave. Swamiji had Mukunda read the article alone. San Francisco largest paper, the Chronicle, was also ran an article. Swami in hippie land, holy man opened SF temple. The article began. A holy man from India, described by his friend and beat poet Allen Ginsberg as one of the more conservative leaders of his time, launched a kind of evangelistic effort yesterday in the heart of San Francisco's hippie haven. Ramiji objected to being called conservative. He was indignant. Conservative? Who is that?
Thank you,
In
Prabhupada.
respect to sex and drugs, Mukunda suggested. Of course, we are conservative in that
Hare
sense.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Swamiji said. That simply means we are following Shastra. We cannot depart from Bhagavad Gita. But conservative, we are not. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strict that he would not even look on human. But we are accepting everyone in this moment, regardless of sex, caste, position, or whatever. Everyone is invited to come chant Hare Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's munificence, his liberality. No, we are not conservative. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat pranams. Thank you so much. Okay, so page 94 and 95 has got missed while scanning the book. So Prabhuji had the book, so I think he read it from the book directly. Others, those who have the book, you can refer to the book. I will read these 2 pages because it is not available. Then one of you can continue from page 96. To page 94, he has read the first paragraph. I'll continue from there. Bhaktivedanta Swami rose from bed and turned on the light. It was 1 a.m. Although the alarm had not sounded and no one had come to wake him, he had risen on his own. The apartment was cold and quiet. Wrapping his chadar around his shoulders, he sat quietly at his makeshift desk, a trunk filled with manuscripts, and in deep concentration chanted the Hare Krishna mantra on his beads. After an hour of chanting, Bhaktivedanta Swami turned to his writing. Although 2 years had passed since he had published a book, the third and final volume of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he'd been daily working, sometimes on his translation and commentary of the second canto, but mostly on Bhagavad Gita. In the 1940s in India, he had written an entire Bhagavad Gita translation and commentary, but his only copy had mysteriously disappeared. Then in 1965, after a few months in America, he had begun again, starting with the introduction, which he had composed in his room on 72nd Street in Newark. Now, thousands of manuscript pages filled his trunk, completing his Bhagavad Gita. If his New York disciple Hayagriva, formerly an English professor, could edit it, and if some of the other disciples could get it published, that would be an important achievement. But publishing books in America seemed difficult, more difficult than in India. Even though in India he had been alone, he had managed to publish 3 volumes in 3 years. Here in America, he had many followers. But Hare Krishna, 1 second. 1 minute. Sorry. Hare Krishna, sorry. Here in America, he had many followers, but many followers meant increased responsibilities. And none of his followers as yet seemed seriously inclined to take up typing, editing, and dealing with American businessmen. Yet, despite the dim prospects for publishing this Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktivedanta Swami had begun translating another book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the principal Vaishnava scripture on the life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Putting on his reading glasses, Swamiji opened his books and turned on the dictating machine. He studied the Bengali and Sanskrit texts, then picked up the microphone, flicked the switch to record, flashing on a small red light, and began speaking. While the Lord was going, chanting, and dancing, he spoke no more than a phrase at a time, flicking the switch, pausing, and then dictating again. Thousands of people were following him, and some of them were laughing, some were dancing, and some singing. Some of them were falling on the ground, offering obeisances to the Lord. Speaking and pausing, clicking the switch on and off, he would sit straight, sometimes gently rocking and nodding his head as he urged forward his words. Or he would bend low over his books, carefully studying them through his reading glasses. An hour passed, and Swamiji worked on. The building was dark except for Swamiji's lamp, and quiet except for the sound of his voice and the click and hum of the dictating machine. He wore a faded peach turtleneck jersey beneath his grey wool chadar, and since he had just risen from bed, his saffron dhoti was wrinkled. Without having washed his face or gone to the bathroom, he sat absorbed in his work. At least for these few rare hours, the street and the Radhakrishna temple were quiet. This situation at night, with the surroundings quiet, and him at his transcendental literary work, was not much different from his early morning hours in his room at the Prabhupada House. at the Radha Damodara temple in Vrindavana, India. Therefore, there, of course, he had no dictating mission, but he had worked during the same hours and from the same text, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Once he had begun a verse by verse translation with commentary, and another time he had written essays on the text. Now, having just arrived in the corner of the world, so remote from the scenes of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, he was beginning the first chapter of a new English version of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He called it Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. So we will continue now from page 96. All right, who would like to read Hare Krishna? You can raise your hands. Yes, Sharmila Mataji. Good Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Sharmila Mataji.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I had started reading. Sorry, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He was following what had become a vital routine in his life, rising early and writing the parampara message of Krishna consciousness, putting aside all other considerations, disregarding present circumstances, he would merge into the timeless message of transcendental knowledge. This was his most important service to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. The thought of producing more books and distributing them widely inspired him to rise every night and translate. Bhaktivedanta Swami worked until dawn. Then he stopped and prepared himself to go down to the temple for the morning meeting. Though some of the New York disciples had objected, Swamiji was still scheduled for the mantra rock dance at the Avalon Ballroom. It wasn't proper, they had said, for the devotees out in San Francisco to ask their spiritual master to go to such a place. It would mean amplified guitars, pounding drums, wild light shows, and hundreds of drugged hippies. How could his pure message be heard in such a place? But in San Francisco, Mukunda and others had been working on the mantra rock dance for months. It would draw thousands of young people, and the San Francisco Radhakrishna temple stood to make thousands of dollars. So, although among his New York disciples, Swamiji had expressed uncertainty, he now said nothing to deter the enthusiasm of his San Francisco followers. Sam Spears, Spearstra, Mukunda's friend, and one of the Mantra Rock organizers, explained the idea to Hayagriva, who had just arrived from New York. There's a whole new school of San Francisco music opening up. The Grateful Dead have already cut their first record. Their offer to do this dance is a great publicity boost just when we need it. But Swamiji says that even Ravi Shankar is Maya. Hayagriva said, "Oh, it's all been arranged." Sam assured him. All the bands will be on stage, and Allen Ginsberg will introduce Swamiji to San Francisco. Swamiji will talk and then chant Hare Krishna with the bands joining in. Then he leaves. There should be around 4,000 people there. Bhaktivedanta Swami knew he would not compromise himself. He would go, chant, and then leave. The important thing was to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna. If thousands of young people gathering to hear rock music could be engaged in hearing and chanting the names of God, then what was the harm? As a preacher, Bhaktivedanta Swami was prepared to go anywhere to spread Krishna consciousness. Since chanting Hare Krishna was absolute, one who heard or chanted the names of Krishna, anyone, anywhere, in any condition, could be saved from falling to the lower species in the next life. These young hippies wanted something spiritual, but they had no direction. They were confused, accepting hallucinations as spiritual visions, but they were seeking genuine spiritual life, just like many of the young people on the Lower East Side. Bhaktivedanta Swami decided he would go. His disciples wanted him to, and he was their servant and the servant of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranams. Very nice. So we will conclude with this page. Who would like to read? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Mukunda Sam and Harvey Gohan had already met with rock entrepreneur Chet Hens, who had agreed that they could use his Avalon ballroom and that if they could get the hands to come, everything above the cost for the groups, the security and a few others basics would go as profit for the San Francisco Radhakrishna temple. Mukunda and Sam had gone calling on the music groups, most of whom lived in the Bay Area, and one after another the exciting new San Francisco rock bands, the Grateful Dead, Moby Grape, Big Brother, and the holding company Jefferson Airplane Quicksilver Messenger Services had agreed to appear with Swami Bhaktivedanta for the minimum usage of $250 per group. And Alan Ginsberg had agreed. The lineup was complete. On the night of the Mandra rock dance, people lined up all the way down the street and around the block, waiting for tickets at $2.50 apiece. Attendance would be good, capacity crowd, and most of the local luminaries were coming. LSD pioneer Timothy Leary arrived and was given a special seat on stage. Swami Kriyananda came carrying a tambura, a man wearing a top hat and a suit with a silk sash that said San Francisco arrived, claiming to be the mayor. At the door, Mukunda stopped a respectably dressed young man who didn't have a ticket. But then someone tapped Mukunda on the shoulder, let him in. It's all right. He is Owsley. Mukunda apologized and submitted, allowing Augustus Owsley Stanley, to folk hero and famous synthesizer of LSD, to enter without a ticket. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So we will stop with this today. We've covered quite a lot today. So please read and come for tomorrow's class. There will be a lot of questions. So please go through these pages and come to the class tomorrow. We will continue. We will see what's in store next. Uh, the interesting part is when Srila Prabhupada went to New York for the first time, when he entered the foreign, foreign country for the first time, he didn't know anybody. Now he built an empire there. And then at San Francisco, when he entered, look at the level of welcoming he had with bouquets and such a large crowd gathered. And just thinking how Prabhupada would have felt, like he would not have even imagined all of this to happen. So that's the grace of Krishna. So very nice. We will continue to read tomorrow and see what's happening next. Please keep reading and join our class regularly. Thank you so much, everyone. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंतकोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय जय श्रील प्रपात की जय
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mata. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.